do you know this woman? Maybe just the character? Did you know that this woman wouldn't be here without this woman? Let me explain. This is Matilda Joslyn Gage. That name may not mean anything to you, but it does to a lot of people, especially women. Gage was an extremely fierce suffragist, abolitionist, and advocate for Black and Indigenous rights in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Her views were far more radical, and she was much more outspoken than many of the rights advocates at the time. Many men of the time labeled Gage as a heretic and satanic for her feminist beliefs. Most of her beliefs were transmitted via writing, which explored the history of the suppression of women's power and intelligence. She also dove very deeply into the history of the witch archetype and its place in the history of female empowerment. She became a leading authority on the history of witch hunts. This is where her branding as satanic comes from. Many of her male critics were put off by the subject, and more so by her very public feminist demonstrations and protests. She, like many other suffragists of the time, was furious that America was treating women and minorities the way it was. In 1893, she published a book entitled Women, Church, and State. In this book, she argued that religions and their upper echelons were instrumental in the oppression of women. The leading cause of this oppression, she argued, was the stigma of witches and witchcraft that had been thrust upon women that were misunderstood. So where does she come in? I'm getting there. In Gage's manifesto, she looked at the 1300s to the 1800s period in American and world history, where tens of thousands of women were branded as witches. They suffered through kangaroo court trials and were ultimately executed. She argued that the false beliefs in women's extreme wickedness was taught by the church as its core doctrine. Witchcraft, she explained, was made out to be a woman's weapon against Christian society. According to Gage, this persecution of witchcraft was a violent act that caused physical, emotional, and spiritual harm to all women. Okay, so here is where she comes in. Gage had a daughter named Maud. In 1882, Maud married L. Frank Baum. Yeah, the guy who wrote The Wizard of Oz. But at this time, he hadn't written it yet. He was not only taken by Maud, but he was highly impressed and had great respect for Gage and her beliefs. Gage was impressed with Baum's writing ability and eventually encouraged him to try writing for a career, specifically children's literature. In 1900, Baum published The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. The book was highly influenced by Gage's beliefs and her ideas of women having confidence in themselves, women helping women, and the many facets of personality and traits that women possess. So, without this woman wouldn't be here. Thank you, Matilda Gage. Women and society at large owe you a debt of gratitude.